I don't believe in that.
Gosh darn it.
Do one of you guys tweet the link?
No, not yet. Someone should.
What's a link? Like a link to the past?
How do you all tweet the link? What's the easiest way?
YouTube.com/ancillary characters. Then you see the broadcast. And then from there, you're like, what? It's a broadcast. And you click on it.
Okay.
Sometimes it takes a minute or two for it to show up after we've clicked on the thing and done the live stuff. One night we need to live stream all of us playing Destiny.
That'd be terrible. If it'd be me and Josh getting in like a screaming match.
That would be unfortunate. Yeah, it's not showing the live stream yet on the YouTube.
It will.
I don't believe you.
I can post the link. I already have the link.
We could rig it up some way to where each of our screens are feeding into some central server, and that puts it up to where people can switch between the different screens, but all of our audio feed is constantly coming through.
Okay, so Paul, you're saying like we're gonna basically start at. I mean, are we gonna go like best book, best artist, best writer, or just like best book, and then we kind of ramble about other books that were good too? Because I mean, if we do that, we're gonna end up talking creators too.
Yeah.
It's kind of all
Sure.
encompassing, right?
Right.
I mean, I have a favorite book of the year.
Okay.
I'm sure we all do.
I have a favorite stuff of the year.
I'm actually really, really unsure.
Yeah, like I've given very little thought to. I mean, I know what I've enjoyed. If we start breaking it down to like favorite writer, favorite this and that, I have nothing to contribute.
I mean, I'll get into like talking about guys I liked, but I love guys. All right, let's go.
I mean, this is the third time we've done this.
Speaking of which, I think no, this isn't the third. This is like the fourth, isn't it? We're on episode 131. Is it only? Yeah, you're right.
This is the
LOL.
third time we've done a year in review episode.
Yeah. I never liked breaking it down into like really hard and fast categories like that, though.
I
like
liked it. I think it's fun, but I don't know.
I feel like I can't give a good enough perspective since I don't drill down to I don't experience a lot of writers and artists and publishers and all that.
Yeah, but you're not saying this is the best one that was published. You're saying, of all the stuff I read, this was my favorite stuff this year.
Yeah, it's
but-
always been about our favorites.
Right, but whenever you get down to like writers, then I'm just gonna say whoever wrote the most books that I like.
That's silly.
What do you mean, whoever wrote the most books that you like?
Like,
Isn't that pretty much what your favorite writer this year was?
yeah, but what I'm saying is it's gonna be all mixed up and everything else.
I don't know that that's true, because like if let's say like Scott Pilgrim came out in a year that like Jeff Johns was writing JSA and Flash and like all these books that I loved, I still would probably say Brian Lee O'Malley was my favorite writer because I love Scott Pilgrim so much.
See, I don't know how I would do that because, like, say, like this year, my favorite book that came out, like my favorite self-contained story was Starlight. But I can't say that Mark Miller's my favorite writer because I otherwise just don't care for the guy. And that's the only thing by him that I read this year. So I'd almost certainly give it to Jeff Johns. I read more of his stuff than anybody else and enjoy it more broadly. But he didn't write anything this year that just really wowed me. I mean, Forever Evil was pretty good, yeah. I mean, it was really good, but it wasn't be because of Forever Evil that I gave it to him. It's be because Justice League Forever Evil Superman. Just he wrote. But anyway,
Yeah,
yeah,
but you can quantify that any way you want to, or qualify that. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, but I think at that point it becomes meaningless when you're talking about writers. I don't know. This isn't the time to. I'll go with whatever we do.
Oh, I like arguing. I think we should add. I might put this in at the end of the show.
Yeah, I like arguing too. As long as everybody else that I'm arguing with also likes arguing. If they don't like arguing, then it doesn't get fun because then I'm afraid I'm offending people.
I'm afraid I'm offending people. You son of a.
All right. Well, there goes the explicit tag for this episode.
All right. Let's go then. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right.
What episode number is this?
131. Okay. Everyone kosher? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Paul?
Yeah.
We haven't done this in a while. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
You're listening to Ancillary Characters, episode 131.
Who are you? Who are we? And who are we dealing with?
Who the heck are you?
Who do you think you are?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Who are these sick people?
And who are these two attractive young people?
Who are those guys?
It's the Ancillary Characters podcast, the podcast of the website ancillarycharacters.com.blogspot.com. I'm one of your hosts tonight. My name is Seth Breedlove. I'm joined by two of my best friends in the whole wide world from the glorious state of North Carolina.
Alan Boone.
And from the wonderful state of Kentucky.
That's me, Paul Shirley.
And we are returning after a brief absence brought about by the fact that we are all A-listers in life. You might not know this. We have lives that you can't even comprehend. Just ridiculous. We're out saving the world on a nightly basis. Alan dates like 30 supermodels. It eats up a
30.
lot of his time.
Not at once. That would be a crazy sitcom situation, you know?
That's not what I've heard, but
I have to go back and forth between 30 restaurants.
Well, maybe not on the same night.
I would watch that if it was a sitcom
I think
with Alan Boone dating 30 supermodels simultaneously.
I think what's being implied is that Alan has a different supermodel for each day of the month. I think that's basically what we're saying.
What happens in like February?
We're about to find out.
Stay tuned.
During February, Alan swears off all dating and just eats ice cream for 28 days.
That's true. I ate ice cream and just sob into the pint
Calls it the
Of
ice
ice
cream fast.
while I watch 500 Days of Summer every night.
Oh, that sounds great. Can I come over?
Yeah, come on down.
All right.
We could eat ice cream and watch 500 Days of Summer and sob.
Weep together.
Weep together. Get a good man cry in.
How have you been, Paul?
How have I been?
Mm.
I've been good. Been doing good.
Mm-hmm.
Been working. Just come off the Christmas break. Playing a lot of video games, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Life.
What video games have you been playing? Tell us.
Oh boy. Well, I got Captain Toad for Christmas. I beat that on the
Don't know
Wii U.
what that is.
It's a spinoff from Mario. You play as Toad from the Mario series. He can't jump, and you're put into these platforming style levels that are more like puzzles. You have to collect 3 gems and then get the star in each level. So
Huh.
they're fun.
You also have to hunt down shy guys and snap their necks.
Essentially,
Stealthily.
What?
Yeah. Without them seeing you.
The franchise is taking an odd turn.
Yeah. Pokemon Omega Alpha Sapphire, whatever that is on the 3DS, got that. Been playing that. Recently bought Icewind Dale on the iPad, which is a old D&D style Forgotten Realms hardcore RPG.
Yeah.
I'm also trying to wrap up Shadow of Mordor right now on the PS4.
Is that good? I almost bought that game around Christmas.
It's
Shadow of
great.
Mordor?
Yeah, Shadow of Mordor.
If you
It's
like
very good.
beheadings,
And I do. I love beheadings.
Gotcha.
I behead like 30 orcs in
Yeah.
a minute on that game.
Yeah, that's no exaggeration. But they deserve it. You know,
Because they're orcs.
they've got it coming.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Not because they're orcs, that's racist.
yeah,
Because they're evil.
sure. But the fact that they're orcs means they're evil.
Forged in darkness.
Alan, how have you been?
Yeah, I've been.
Sweet.
It's been well. It's been good. I've done many of the things that Paul just listed.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of tired and meh today because I got up early
Mm-hmm.
and didn't sleep a lot. So if I start nodding off, then that's what's happening.
Yeah.
But I'm fueled by energy of being back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Characters back. I think we're back for good.
Forever.
As for good as we can be around here. We'll be back on our weekly schedule, but the day we will be recording is kind of up in the air currently. So, watch live, but you can also download the podcast at insularcharacters.libsyn.com.
Word.
How was we haven't even talked since like before Christmas. How was Christmas for you guys?
Christmas was really good.
Great. You know what I did?
What?
I pooped and puked for 2 days.
Oh, beautiful.
As I was violently ill and completely missed the holiday. And by the time I was better, everyone had already celebrated and no one wanted to do any sort of like retroactive celebration. So I completely missed Christmas, which is my favorite holiday.
That's sad.
Yeah.
I got the stomach bug too, but it was like 2 days after Christmas.
I remember that.
The worst day I had was on Christmas, so
That sucks.
yeah, it was not fun. But
Did you get anything cool?
I got some cool stuff. I got the Don Rosa. They're doing the Don Rosa Uncle Scrooge Donald Duck hardcover collections from Fantagraphics now. But my wife bought me the gift set, which is like I don't know if you guys saw the Carl Barks ones, but they're like a normal sized hardcover. They're not oversized at all. They're not like a premiere edition or anything. You know what? They're the same size as like the Marvel graphic novels that they put out. So they're a little oversized, but nothing huge. But she bought me these Don Rosa ones, and they're not quite absolute sized, but they're way over like your average comic book size. And I thought that was awesome because they were only, I think the price on them was like $25 for 2 of these books, and they're gorgeously presented. And I love Don Rosa, so I got that. My friend Mark Matsky bought me the Jack Kirby OMAC hardcover, and that's really cool. I got what else? I got the Lock and Key, the final Lock and Key book. So I'm now all caught up on Lock and Key. I read the whole series. So at some point we're gonna have to talk about Lock and Key and how it ended.
Lock and Key.
And there was some other stuff. I got $200 worth of gift cards for Target and went and bought so much flannel, you wouldn't have believed it.
Flannel.
It was incredible. A lot of flannel was purchased.
I believe it.
What about you guys? Gifts, Alan?
I got a Super Mario.
Nice. Okay.
I got a blanket and a New 52 flash trade. I got a little Hobbit key pin thing. And I got Absolute Batman The Dark Knight.
Nice.
Who
Who got you that?
Paul.
Paul. Hey, Paul, what'd you get me, buddy?
I mean,
not to put you on the
I'll
spot.
give it to you as soon as you get here.
All right, what did you get, Paul? Cool.
What I get, Paul?
What did Paul get in general?
Oh, I thought you asked me what I got for Paul.
No, I don't care.
I got him on eBay.
Let's see. I got a lot of stuff. I got a lot of video games.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of comics, I got my parents got me the next two Hellboy library editions.
Oh, son of a yeah.
So Volume 3 and Volume 4, I think it
Yeah.
was.
Nice.
Let's see. My wife got me some comics too. She got me one of the volumes of Rust
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that I didn't have. I also got the Fantastic Four Hickman Omnibus, the first volume, which I never did get.
Yeah.
Parents got me that for Christmas.
Cool.
I want to say that's about it in terms of comics.
All right, good, because we gotta move at some point
Yeah,
here.
we gotta move this
Listeners
thing along.
are gonna be annoyed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we'll move it right along.
Is this for Alan?
Is it? Thought we were doing.
It's been a long time, and we're not doing Take It or
What?
Leave It tonight. So this is the best of 2014.
You just segued into a new segment and told nobody.
Listen, I'm used to being able to edit podcasts and post now. I'm not used to all this like editing on the fly stuff.
Right. I just knew that wasn't the What's Up with Paul music. I just knew that.
Typically, in years past, the 2 years past that we've done the show, we did these elaborate, massive cast year in review kind of things. This year, we're just doing like a retrospective episode. We're just going to talk about 2014. Probably start off and just talk about some of our favorite books, things that, and kind of kick it back and forth and talk about stuff we really liked from the year. We might get into a couple things outside of comics we liked as well. So I'm not sure how we want to do this. We decided we were going to wing it. So let's just talk a little bit about books that came out in 2014 that we liked, and then let's save kind of our maybe our favorites for kind of the end. And then we'll talk what our favorite was. Each of us will talk about a book that was our favorite. Does that sound like a good idea?
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
for that.
All right. So I want to talk about a book that I don't think either of you guys are going to talk about, so I can get it out of the way. It was if there was a favorite ongoing I had this year, it would have been this, but this was not my overall favorite book. It's Manifest Destiny. Image Comics. I was on the Echo Rift show sometime in the past. I can't even remember when. It was a long time ago. Lots happened since then. Manifest Destiny from Image Comics is about Lewis and Clark conquering the West. Really cool concept. It's like horror, but also very adventure heavy. It's written by a guy named Chris Dingus. Art is by Matthew Roberts. Gorgeous art. Amazing covers, too. Neither of you guys read this, right? Or maybe Alan does. Does someone read this?
I don't, but I keep meaning to go get some trades and or digitals.
Okay.
And read it.
This year, I can't even remember. I think this kicked off at the beginning of the year. I'm actually looking at an issue right now that I just realized I haven't even read yet. But the concepts in this book are so great, and we talked about it on Echo Rift. In this particular series story arc that just kind of ended, they did something really cool with the concept of river monsters. And one of the coolest things about the book is how they take common folklore and kind of turn it on its head. So everything you would probably imagine would be in this book, it might be in the book, but not in the fashion you're expecting. Like, I still am waiting for some sort of Sasquatch to show up, but if it does, I'm expecting it to be completely different from what I would be looking for. But Manifest Destiny, Image Comics, if you're not reading it, I highly suggest it. It is just a blast to read. Very terrifying, too. Great horror action book. Someone go. Alan.
Yay! So I really enjoyed Jonathan Hickman's Avengers and No Avengers this year. It wasn't something I didn't hear a lot of people talking about that much.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought starting out, No Avengers was stronger than Avengers starting out. Avengers kind of just coasted until Infinity. And then after Infinity, they both started picking up the storylines they had beforehand. And this year, I thought that they were both really good, tying into each other, and now they're counting down to the next the big slew of Marvel events coming this summer. But they've been consistently good. The idea of these incursions of another universe into ours still an imminent threat, still an unsolved problem, and they went through a whole ordeal where they were trying to decide whether they were going to save both universes by destroying our Earth or do nothing and let it perish. And that was like a really tense moment. That was probably my most memorable comic moment this year. Was trying to the tension of seeing what the Avengers, the heroes, were going to do, the Illuminati specifically, were going to do, whether they were going to kill this Earth and murder billions of people in order to save two whole universes, or else just let both universes die. And then the repercussions of Captain America finding out that he's been mind wiped by the Illuminati, and it was some really good stuff all throughout.
Yeah.
And they brought Thanos into it, and he's got his own little posse, a cabal, if you will, running around.
Yeah,
And
I agree. I loved both those books this year. So, and you're right, it isn't something you heard a lot about, but I really think Hickman has done something cool with this Avengers, and I'm sure once he's off the book, you'll be able to read your typical superhero team book again, since so many people don't like books that actually make you think.
And it's ending right before Secret Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Both books are ending.
Mm-hmm.
time runs out, they say.
Yeah, so I'd say that after, my guess would be after Secret Wars, he'll be off the books.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Paul?
I agree, though. They've been very good. Avengers is a book that I was kind of nonplussed by until after Infinity was over, like Alan said, and Hickman finally started kind of putting both of these books on a path together. And even Original Sin helped get those books like in the direction they were heading.
Man, Original Sin, though, what a disappointment.
Yeah, that wasn't very good.
It started out so good and then just fell apart.
Honestly, there have been a lot of duds this year, I think.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
this has been kind of a boring year in comics.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
There have been some high points, but I don't know why. I mean, a lot happened. I mean, you had Thor: God of Thunder ended, and then you've got Lady Thor taking over. Steve Rogers lost his powers, which, by the way, to me feels very anticlimactic.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a stunt.
It very much does. Like it has no effect on me whatsoever.
And don't get me wrong, Thor's thing feels like a stunt too, but I think it's been handled better.
I agree, but I don't know. I just feel like Reminder, he just decided at the end of that run that started out so strong. Honestly, the whole second half of that run, leading up to the point that they ended it, was just kind of boring to me.
I disagree because I think when he got back to the Dimension Z stuff and that story arc where Cap died, or not died, but lost his powers, I thought that was actually a really good story.
Yeah, I enjoyed most of it. Like the stuff whenever what's his name?
Zola?
Zola. I was thinking Zemo for some reason, but I knew that wasn't right. When Zola came to Manhattan, and we had all the stuff from the first arc coming back, it was really good. And then plus I thought the stuff with the Iron Nail was pretty good too. And there were some neat moments, like whenever Cap, this might not even have been this year, but when Cap was stuck in Dr. Mindbubble's dream dimension thing.
Yeah, that was this year. Some of that stuff was okay, but it was just kind of like after that first arc in Dimension Z, that stuff just seemed so like not even on the same level. And then at the end of that, Iron Nail sucks out all the super soldier serum from Cap, and you're just kind of like, you kind of don't even really think it's going to last, and it has. It's lasted this whole time. I kind of figured it was going to be resolved in the next issue.
Yeah. Well, they needed to get Falcon Cap. And on top of that, like the stuff where Cap burned all of his memorabilia.
That was weird.
That just felt so out of place, and I thought it was dumb.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you
the
off.
stuff with Jet Black, I thought it's like it felt like they were just trying to get her out of the comic.
Absolutely. I mean,
That
they spent this whole time building her up, and then the moment that something doesn't go exactly right for her, she just runs and goes back to Dimension Z with Zola.
Yeah, we're hopping the rails here, though. We're talking negativity. This is supposed to be,
Well,
positive. Let's bring the positive vibes. Let's smoke some grass. Talk about stuff we love.
smoke some
Yeah.
grass.
The peace and love.
We're smoking some grass. One thing that I really liked this year
Mm-hmm.
has been the Flash comic.
Mm.
I've really enjoyed it since Venditti took over,
Mm-hmm.
and he started the storyline with the Flash from 5 years in the future, working his way back to the past. I think it's been really interesting. That's a comic that I think's actually gotten better in the last year. There were some high moments in the Manipul Buccellato era, but there were also some really low moments, and I feel like this has been a strong book. One of those books that a lot of people aren't reading that has actually been really strong for me.
It feels old school too. It
It
feels
does.
in a good way. I think it's very reminiscent of Mark Waid's Flash.
A book that I was not really enjoying was Snyder's Batman, but then once the 0 year storyline that went way too long ended, I actually just read the whole thing start to finish, and I really enjoyed it. Once it was all said and done as a complete story, I really liked 0 year. At Marvel, the books that I've most enjoyed have been Avengers and New Avengers, but beyond that, I've been glad to see Peter Parker back
Mm.
as Amazing Spider-Man.
Mm.
Yeah, the whole Spider-Verse thing I think has been well done as well.
I
Well done
agree.
as
I'm really
well.
enjoying
And
that so far.
I don't think we can leave out Justice League. I think John's again is turning in a great year on Justice League. I've really enjoyed it. I've loved the art. Um, the story arc that's going on right now, the virus, whatever it's called, the contagion, one of
The Mesovirus.
Mesovirus. Great. I'm really liking it. It reminds me a lot of Morrison's 90s JLA. It's kind of these big concept story arcs, with the premier super team involved. I'm really digging it. And I also want to mention The Wake from Vertigo, which up until the final issue was probably going to be my favorite series of the year.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the final issue kind of killed it botched the landing pretty badly.
It
It
very much did.
it left field didn't fit with anything that happened before it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Uh,
random.
On the idea of Vertigo, I don't even know if this is Vertigo anymore, but I've really enjoyed Astro City this year. It's one of those books that I'll have kind of pile up because I won't think about it,
Me too.
and then I'll go through and read like 3 or 4 issues and be like, why haven't I been reading this? This is so good. Then like
Yeah.
3 or 4 months later, I'll do the same thing.
It's weird how that works too, because it's not a book you would think of reading in like big sharp bursts of like multiple issues, but it's something about getting through one issue and you're pulled back into that world and you just want to live there. I mean, that was one of the first things that pulled me into comics was Busiek's Astro City, because I was a huge Busiek fan, because one of the first books I read was Superman Secret Identity. And I went and looked for anything I could find by Busiek, and Astro City was one of the first things I found. And I remember I read like 3 Astro City hardcovers in the space of like 2 days. I just wanted to live in Astro City. But you're right. I get behind on it too. I got way behind on it. I was 9 issues behind, and I got through about 6 last week.
Yeah, I've done similar things throughout the past year or two. But there's some good story, like the one with the woman who run the junkyard
Oh,
or
it's
the
great.
museum.
Fantastic.
There's the one with the woman superheroes, kind of like the Amazons, and a young guy come to him for help, and I thought they handled that really well. It didn't feel preachy, but it felt like a really good story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's
Whenever
that the story about the lady with the junkyard was fantastic. I think it was a 2 or 3 issue story arc, but it was great.
Another book I enjoyed this year, kind of on the the DC side of things was, I mean, really, I haven't read a lot. Justice League and, the others. But Superman by Jeff Johns.
Hmm.
I
It's
only
funny,
read.
we haven't talked about this book on the show, I don't think. I feel like we
We talked
haven't
about like the
reviewed.
first
We
maybe issue.
we reviewed the first issue. I'm very curious to hear what you guys have to say about this.
I'm enjoying it. I think it's an interesting storyline. I don't know why I feel like I'm detached from it. Maybe it's just because I'm behind on comics in general most of the time. But I think that I didn't really see things going the way they're going now. Um, with this guy, I can't even think of what the guy's name is.
Ulysses.
Ulysses, that's it. I've been just kind of curious where Johns has taken it the whole time. I think the art by Romita Jr. has been really good,
Really good.
Love
and
the art.
I just hope they stick on it for a while.
Yeah, same here. Like at first, I wasn't super into this Ulysses guy, but then, like, and I felt like the first three issues was kind of like, I don't know, they were good issues, but I wasn't sure. Like you were saying, I wasn't sure where they were going with it. Like it felt like there was like no end goal. It's just Superman palling around with this new guy. But
Hmm.
it's going into interesting places now that it's getting into his home world. Well, his Earth's his home world, but his adopted home world and the whole arc thing.
I liked it. I was like Paul. I guess I was detached from it, but I don't know. It's weird. I sometimes think Johns does story arcs like this though, and it builds and builds. I mean, he might build off this, and when I look at it in a year from now, I absolutely love it. As of right now, I just thought it was pretty good. I didn't think it was
Yeah.
great, but I thought it was
Yeah,
pretty
that's
good.
where I'm at. I think.
Um,
I'm
Yeah.
not.
I loved Death of Wolverine this year.
Oh
I
yeah.
wanted to give that a mention. In fact, the more I've thought about it, the more I loved it. 4 issue mini event that was emotionally satisfying, and we did an episode about it on this show. But I wanted to give that a mention because I really ended up kind of loving that, and more so in retrospect.
Same here. It was very poignant, and each issue had a different feeling to it. So I was reading it month to month or week to week, however often it was coming out,
Hmm.
and it never got. It felt like each thing stood apart. Like you had the one where it's just Wolverine beating on people on his island, and Nuke was there, and he was all chubby, and you got the
All right. I'm not sure how long to give him.
I'm back.
Okay.
I
You did
wasn't
it.
sure how long I've been out.
It was, I don't know. Did you finish your thought?
Yes, I didn't realize that I was out until I finished my thought,
Good.
and you
That's a
didn't
good
say
thing.
anything. And then right after that, you said, "I don't know how long to give him."
Okay. Paul, jump in here with something.
Um, I've enjoyed Death of Wolverine. I thought it was pretty good. Um, I don't know. I feel like this over probably the last half of the year at least, comics have had trouble pulling me in. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think we've all been
Um,
there.
a big part of that's because of where I live and where my comic shop is. I have to go and get it when I do. I've got a big stack of books to read. Um, so there's very few books that I get to read as soon as they come out. A lot of books have been good this year. There is one book that we haven't mentioned that was really good, which was Forever Evil. I mean, it was DC's big event this year.
Yeah, great.
Um, I really enjoyed that. I like the art, and John's writing was obviously very good. I feel like it's still kind of playing out some of it, and I feel like John's is in the long game for some of the stuff that went in with that. Like they teased a lot of stuff, and
Yeah.
I don't know where DC's going in 2015 with this whole convergence thing coming in April. I don't know if that matters or if it's just something they're doing because they're moving to Burbank, and if that's what it is, then that's dumb.
I mean, they're calling it direct sequel to Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Right.
But that was on 52.
Yeah.
It was, and this convergence thing is going to involve like every alternate universe that's ever been involved in DC, which is cool. It's a cool idea, and it's fine. But I wonder if it really matters.
Yeah, I haven't followed it. Do we know who the creative teams are or anything?
Yeah, it's I can't remember who it is. It's a
Okay,
guy who's not a typical comic author. He's like a television.
Okay, so
Right.
you're probably right. It's probably a space filler.
That's what I'm afraid of. I just
Yeah.
I don't know if it is.
If it's not Johns or Snyder or Lemire, it's probably a nothing.
You know, I have no problem with them hiring someone new if they do a good job. And I'll pick up the first issue for sure. But they're doing this big thing, and there's going to be all these books that'll have 2 issues, and they're set in all these different alternate Earths or whatever, and they're bringing all the characters into it. And I think they're doing it that way so that you can just check out the ones that you like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which is a cool idea, but some of it just seems so random to me. And I'm going to follow the main series, but I don't know what I'll buy outside of that. So I don't really know what to expect there. In terms of Marvel, they just wrapped up Axis. Did you guys read the last issue?
I loved Axis.
I've read roughly half of it, and I've loved what I read, but Christmas kind of put a wrench in things for me reading.
I thought Axis was as strong as Avengers versus X-Men.
I don't know. I don't know about that, but it was definitely the best event that Marvel did this year. Of like the 16 events they did, it feels like. Was Infinity this year?
I can't even remember.
I don't
it was
think.
last year. I think that was last year.
Okay, I can't even remember. But definitely better than Original Sin. I really enjoyed it. I
thought
did.
as a standalone event, no crossovers or anything. The great thing about Avengers versus X-Men was it touched all the other titles and it felt big. Axis as a single little story, I really enjoyed. I got to talk about a book called Lazarus from Image by Greg Rucka and Michael Lark. And I know I reviewed the first issue way back, but I just got caught up on it because Image had that big sale. And it's fantastic. Like, it is a really, really good book. Great story. Really cool world building by Rucka and Lark. And just a very, it's not a super action heavy book, but the concepts and the politics of it, and I read it recently, and it kind of, honestly, I think I could probably credit it with getting me really excited about comics again. Between that and Multiversity, in the last like month, I'm rebuilding my love of comics. I also read through Wrestle by Jeff Smith. Just finished it last night, and I wanted to give that a mention, even though it came back. I mean, it's been like 2 or 3 years, I think, since it came out. But I wanted to mention that it was I finally finished it, and it was a good book.
I've been meaning to give that a read.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You'd love it, Alan.
I feel like I would.
I think it's right up your alley.
Yeah.
I
Speaking
have
of,
like the first maybe collection in digital. I've had it tabled to read and never have read it.
speaking of Image, there was a book that kind of caught me by surprise this year. It was
Sex Criminals.
no, I haven't read that.
Okay.
Is that the one with Fraction and Zdarsky?
Yeah.
This one was a different team, Aaron and Latour, I believe that was the guy's name. Southern Bastards. It's about these Southern people who live in town run by a crooked.
We just lost our clean listing on iTunes.
I'm trying to say that that's
It's-
Southern.
I'm trying to say that Southern song. Ice-T.
Sure.
Pleasantries.
It's weird to hear a couple Southern guys like faking a Southern accent. It's
Like a Southern Belle accent.
It's like Southern on top of Southern.
It's like we're from Georgia.
Georgia.
So this is a good book. I haven't heard you talk about this at all.
Yeah, I haven't. I mean, I thought I talked about it outside the podcast, but I just read the first arc, which I think was 4 issues, and I'm waiting on the next arc to conclude because I feel like it's something that's better read in chunks. But the first arc was really good. It's one of those books that's like it's dark in the sense that, but it's also you're really rooting for a person in it. I like books that get you rooting for somebody.
Okay.
And it's like this crooked town where all the people defer to this, including like the sheriff and stuff, this football coach, who's like basically a mafia, but the southern version of that. And southern backwoods version. He like runs this town, but he doesn't like run. It's not like he's running Chicago like Al Capone. And everybody's afraid to touch him. This guy comes back from the big city, Birmingham, Alabama, and he is just there to like pick up his dad's things. And his dad was the kind of sheriff who went around with a baseball bat just beating on people, trying to fix the town. And this guy's like, I don't want to be like my daddy. But he sees how much problems the town is in, so he's like, well, I guess I better get his bat. But he doesn't have his bat, but he does have a branch from a tree in the yard. And lots of skulls get cracked.
Interesting.
Or do they?
Or do they?
You'll have to read to find out.
Any other comics we want to mention here before I move on to some other topics?
Are we going to throw down what we would say was probably our favorite one?
Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't even talk about my...
Yeah,
I was like, save that.
We're going to segue to...
Let me my favorite book of the year, like by a landslide, there wasn't even anything close to it, was Starlight from Image Comics by Goran Parlov and Mark Millar. Just by far the best book I read this year, mostly because nothing I read this year hit me on an emotional level except this book. And I've compared it multiple times to Up from Pixar. And I stick to that. It's Up meets Flash Gordon.
It was great.
That's a very apt comparison. I was reading it, and I kept expecting Miller to screw it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me too.
Like, the whole time I was thinking, now the thing's going to happen where everything's sad and bad and awful, and I'm going to hate the book.
Yep.
And then I was reading the last issue, not knowing it was the last issue. I just kind of went, I was sitting in the parking lot at the zoo reading it, and it was just so good.
You were in the right ambience.
No context. No context at all. You just drive to the zoo to read it?
I did. An hour and a half
Just
to the
pulled
zoo.
in there.
Sitting there.
Right
It was
there.
on the Africa side of the zoo. There's an Africa side and a North America side. And I was on the Africa side, where the effluents are.
Wow.
Yeah. So is this your favorite then, Alan? Too? Well.
It's my favorite story for sure. My
Okay.
favorite self-contained story.
Okay.
I mean, I loved the multiversity issues that came out. I'd say that's a contender, but it's not like one story. It's a bunch of little stories.
Right.
And then Forever Evil I really liked, but it didn't impact me the way that Starlight did.
Yeah.
Agreed. So Starlight was probably the most emotionally effective, like you guys have said, and I loved that book. I seriously did. If it wasn't for like 2 pages that had some cartoon nudity, I would give it to everyone I knew.
Mm-hmm.
But that would really put some people off, I know. So, and it was so out of place too, because it was just the most random thing. You know what I'm talking about?
It was a very odd
The
thing.
bad guy's just walking through this room, and there's a bunch of people in the background blurrily involved in what seemed to be some kind of cultish orgy. And then he just walks back out again, and you never see anything else like that ever again, you know?
It was just
Yeah,
it was meeting the image quota.
I guess, or Mark Miller just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that it was him writing it. I don't know, but other than that, I mean, that was the one thing. But one book that has really stepped up and shown why it's one of the best books out there this year for me has been Batman and Robin by Peter Tomasi and Pat Gleason. the story that got me the most, and all this stuff with the return of Damian has been really good. I've really enjoyed it. It feels, I don't know, it feels like old school Batman in the sense that it's way over the top, and I mean he's going to Apocalypse and fighting Darkseid and all this crazy stuff. It seems like something from, like, I don't know, a cartoon. And the storyline that actually started in 2013 but wrapped in 2014, which was the Batman and Two-Face storyline, was one of the best things I read all year. Like, the ending to that was very, very chilling. And it also impacted me emotionally. I don't know, I just loved it. It felt like an episode or 2 episodes of Batman the Animated Series.
Which two?
I don't know. I'm saying I'm just saying it wouldn't necessarily could fit in one episode. Like, I could see that being a feature Batman the Animated Series film voiced by Kevin Conroy. I mean, it was just, I loved it.
Let's do it. Let's make that.
We should. Let's give Kevin a call and see if he's down.
Yeah, and if he's not, I'll be Kevin.
And Bruce Timm, give him a call.
Yeah, I liked Batman and Robin. I like the Robin Rising story too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was really neat seeing Batman and crew on Apocalypse, which is like out of their wheelhouse.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with Batman going after Ra's al Ghul, trying to find Damian's sarcophagus, was like really cool. But then they come out of left field with Gloria Scodfried, and I'm like, what? And it just worked.
It did.
Mm-hmm.
It did. So if you want to move on, we can, Seth. We can move on.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on to. Let's just talk real quick about. Okay, so you guys do a podcast called Turtle Jump, which is about video games, and you can hear Paul and Alan talk about their favorite games of the year on their best of episode. But since I don't do a video game podcast, I want to mention the fact that I played one new video game this year, other than my brief foray into the terrible, awful, redundant world of Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. 3 hours playing that, and I will never touch it again. I got hooked on a little game called Destiny on the PS4. I have played nothing but Destiny since October, and I'm not exaggerating when I say I play... I mean, probably more than any video game I've played since the first Modern Warfare Call of Duty game. And it is a blast. I know there's a lot of errors with it, and as someone who plays it constantly, I see many of the flaws in the game design and such, but I still find it completely addictive and just a blast to play with friends, too. And so I have to say, Destiny, great game, one of my favorites. And then really quick, we'll move into maybe a movie or two that we liked for the year. I have to say, my favorite movie the whole year, it was up in the air until the end of the year what I was going to decide was my favorite movie, because I really liked a couple movies, but nothing I was crazy about. There were 2 movies I saw. They've both been fairly recent. One is called Begin Again. It's got Mark Ruffalo and Keira Knightley. It's from the director of Once. It's kind of a musical. It is extremely sappy and cheesy, and I adored every minute of it. It's probably going to be my new 500 Days of Summer. It's Begin Again. Great movie. But my favorite movie of the year, Into the Woods. Disney's Into the Woods. Just an absolutely wonderful movie. And Alan and I talked about it before we started recording. It is a deeply flawed movie, but nonetheless, I could not believe how much I loved this movie and how much it connected with me on an emotional level.
So did you feel that Chris Pine was actually portraying you on screen as he's saying agony?
Oh my God, that's the best, one of the best musical numbers on film.
It was a great scene.
I thought it was great. I thought my favorite thing about it, and I don't want to go into spoiler territory here because it's great to see this without knowing much about it, which is how I saw it. I just thought it was some sort of adaptation of, like, I basically expected Once Upon a Time, the ABC show with music. And what I got was something that was weirdly introspective, and it actually had something to say about life itself, and it was artsy in ways that I was not expecting, and it took me to places I didn't expect to go. I loved the twists that came along, but what I really liked about it was, I don't even know how to say this without giving things away. Uh, I love the fact that it got as dark as it did.
Yeah.
As soon as
Dark.
it took a turn, there's a point in the movie, and you're gonna know it as soon as you watch it, where all of a sudden everything you thought you knew about this movie is flipped on its head, and that was the point where I was in. As soon as it happened, I was like, "Oh, I'm in," and I spent the rest of the movie head over heels in love, and I've listened to the soundtrack multiple times. There's nothing else this year touched me like this touched me.
Yeah, I enjoyed that movie a lot.
Yeah.
The twists and turns that it took were really neat, and I like the music. Uh, there was some neat humor in it. Like it wasn't overtly jokey, haha humor, but it was the songs were funny. The way that people danced and sang in the songs, the way certain things were like the way I thought that Chris Pine's Prince was weirdly creepy in a funny way.
Oh yeah.
Johnny Depp was weirdly creepy in a horrifying way.
In a terrifying
Awful. He
way.
should not have been in the movie, frankly.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
But like, I like most of the characters. You had the baker and his wife; they were both great. Cinderella, Jack, Little Red Riding Hood, and several others. And all their stories were interwoven in a creative way. I wasn't expecting all that to happen. Like, I wasn't sure if this movie was going to be like separate stories or how it was going to turn out, but it was clever.
It was good.
And unique. Yeah.
Someone else hop in here. Favorite movies.
Favorite movies of the year.
Mm.
There were a lot of good movies this year.
So many
I
good
don't know.
movies.
It would probably come down between, for me, Guardians of the Galaxy
Mm.
and honestly, I'm going to say it's either. See, Cap is okay. There's three movies it's going to come down between there.
LOL.
Guardians of the Galaxy, Cap, and Big Hero 6.
Yeah. Those were all three fantastic. I would say that of those three, I would call Cap the most well-made, the most quality.
Yep.
But I had the most
Yeah, I would
fun
agree.
with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep.
And Big Hero 6 was kind of a mix between the two in terms of
Yeah.
fun and quality.
Yeah.
And all three of them were great.
They were. So I'm not going to pick one.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm just going to say what I just said on those three. There were
It
some
was a
movies.
good year. Good year
Oh,
for
yeah.
movies.
There were a bazillion of them.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed Interstellar. It had some
Ooh.
pretty glaring flaws,
Yep.
mainly that it was over 3 hours long. But the science fiction in it was fantastic, and the human element was fantastic. Often science fiction and humanity don't mix well, but Nolan nailed it, I thought, with this one. The only thing that I disliked about it was, for one, its length, and for another, I thought that certain things, I'm not going to spoil anything, but certain parts of the ending were nonsensical.
It never lost me. So if I have a tendency to be able to roll with nonsensical things happening, and it never lost me, and it didn't even lose me with the length. I thought it felt actually, I didn't feel like it was extremely long.
I didn't get to see it, so I can't.
I agree with everything you're saying, though. It was an absolutely great movie. I mean, it might go down as one of the probably top 3 favorites of the year for me.
You need to watch Big Hero 6, Seth.
Oh, I'd love it. I can't wait to see it. I wanted to see it in theaters. I didn't want to go see it by myself.
I don't know what I expected when I watched it, but I didn't expect what I got.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same here. Like, the thing at the start with the characters who are all in the university, and they're all like super nerds building robots and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It made me remember what college was like for me when I was building Lego robots and fighting them in sumo death matches.
Nice.
But then it just turns. It takes a sharp turn.
And there's a lot of heart after that sharp
man.
turn.
So,
I
such a
thought
good movie.
I thought there was a lot of heart to Interstellar too. I mean,
I
it's like
agree.
you said about the human element. I mean, that might be Nolan's most heartfelt movie. I mean, it's got so much to say about a parent's relationship with their child and death and life and
Yeah. And
pretty
that
incredible.
poem that kept coming up, the
Yeah.
go not gently into that good night
Rage. Yeah.
against the dying of light. And what's his name? Alfred, he was in it. And
Great. Surprise
McConaughey.
cameo. There's a surprise cameo guest star that just had a great role in this movie. I'm not going to spoil it because Paul hasn't seen it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, good.
Oh, is it the one guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
That was very descriptive.
yep.
And another movie that kind of came out of nowhere is a little bit of an indie film called Snowpiercer.
Hmm.
I really enjoyed that movie. I heard some people tweeting about it on the Twitter, and I was like, I got nothing to do this Friday night. It's on the Netflix, and it's got Captain America in it and the Doctor. So I was like, why not? Why not? So this is what I did. I got some foods. I can't remember what it was. Probably pizza or wings or something equally bad for my cholesterol, which is high. And turned on the surround sound, turned on the Netflix, Chromecasted it to my television. And this is the first time that my surround sound has impressed me significantly in a film, which I haven't watched many films at home. I'm more of a theater guy. But I could feel the bass. I could hear stuff behind me. And it's a unique film. I don't want to give too much of it away, but it's got some weird... It's like the world ends because everything gets cold, and they're on a train, and everybody's on a train. The train never stops. So the train stops, and everybody's freezes to death.
Just riding a train.
Just three guys riding a train. And there's the people in the back who are like the poor people who have to eat these little blobs of like nutrients, and then the people in the front who are rich people who have like raves and stuff. And it's very like, I was afraid it was going to be preachy, like the 1%er, 99% kind of thing, where you've got the different class based, and I appreciate when movies have a message, but I don't like whenever a movie is made for the message. I was afraid that would be, but this wasn't that at all. It was very, I'm sure it had some things to say about socioeconomic stuff, but that stuff doesn't get in the way of it being a good movie. If anything, it makes it, makes you think about things. Like, if you were on a train, how would you do things if you were the ruler of the train? It's got some cool action. There's a lot of violence in it. There's a lot of thoughtful moments. The only thing I'll say I didn't like was the ending crapped all over the movie.
Well, that can ruin a movie.
So just turn it off about 10 minutes before it ends, and you'll be good.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap this up. This has gone a little over. One more plug. Begin Again. Check it out. Thank you. This is Ancillary Characters, podcast about comics, sometimes movies, whatever we feel about talking, whatever we feel like talking about.
There you go.
And we will return next week for episode 132. You can find us on the web at ancillarycharacters.blogspot.com. You can find us on Twitter at Ancillary Tweets. You can find me on Twitter at SethBreedsLove. Paul's on Twitter at JollyGreen05. And Alan is on Twitter at GayAlanBoone. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/ancillarycharacters. Paul and Alan do a podcast called Turtle Jump, available on iTunes. And what's your URL?
TurtleJump.com.
Okay. And so look them up. And thank you for listening. Peace to 2014.
We love you.